The Civil War was fought to maintain the union of these United States. This monument honors the 91 Marlboro servicemen who answered their nation's call and died during this nation's long and bloody Civil War. On Memorial Day, we commemorate those U.S. men and women who have died in military service to their country. Dear Lord, we ask that you remember these 91 Civil War servicemen who made the ultimate sacrifice, and please continue to comfort their remaining family and their supporting community of Marlboro. We as a community also ask that you keep all our current servicemen and servicewomen serving both near and far, safe and from harm's way. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning. Looks like we lucked out again and got the sunshine. I'd like to deviate from our regular program and point directly across the street to the memorial right across from me here. This memorial is dedicated to U.S. Air Force Captain Robert W. Touchette, who in January 1962 sacrificed his life by piloting his disabled jet into the Alabama River instead of ejecting and letting his plane crash into a populated area. He had 38 combat missions in Korea and was a member of the Marlboro class of 1949. Could we have a moment of silence, please? Thank you. Thank you. On this beautiful Memorial Day, the Marlboro Veterans Council wishes to thank you, each and every one of you, who marched or rode in our parade, and those who lined our streets to honor those veterans who are no longer with us in person, but I'm sure are here in spirit. I would like to start this morning's program by introducing our veterans agent, Gary Brown, who will say a few words.
It is fitting that the Memorial Day Parade ends at the Civil War Memorial. Memorial Day is set aside to reflect on the terrible price that was paid in blood for our freedoms. No war was more costly than the Civil War. Both our nation and our city of Marlboro suffered dearly. This monument is dedicated to those who died in that war who were from our city. Yes, our freedoms were bought and paid for by these men and so many more just like them. And God bless the men and women who wear the various uniforms of our nation, who continue to protect those freedoms.
I'd also like to thank State Representative Gregoire, Mayor Vigent, and the Marlborough City Council for joining us today. At the conclusion of our ceremonies, there is a coalition at the ITAM on Neal Street, right next to the DPW. Before I introduce our guest speaker, it is my pleasure to introduce State Representative Danielle Gregoire to read a proclamation from the state.
Good morning. Thank you, Bob, and thank you all for being here today. I'm always happy to celebrate Memorial Day with the remembrance that we wouldn't be able to do gatherings like this and participate in our family events and barbecues all weekend if it weren't for our servicemen and women and our veterans like those here today, and most importantly, those who have paid the ultimate price for our freedom. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a proclamation by His Excellency Governor Deval L. Patrick. Whereas, while the nation was still recovering from the horrors of the Civil War, people in cities and towns across the country gathered to honor those Union and Confederate soldiers who had given their lives, celebrating the first Decoration Day. And whereas after World War I, the nation came together again to honor those who had fallen in the service of their country. Renamed Memorial Day, the last Monday in May is when people remember and honor the memory of all men and women who have fought and died in all American wars and conflicts. Whereas throughout our nation's history, thousands of Massachusetts citizens have fought in wars and conflict to defend our safety and way of life. Whereas their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who gave their lives, so their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now therefore I, Deval L. Patrick, Governor of the Commonwealth, do hereby proclaim May 26, 2014 to be Memorial Day, and urge all citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given the Executive Chamber in Boston the first day of May in the year 2014, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 237th. Thank you for having me here today. May God bless our troops, and may God bless the United States of America.
And now it is my pleasure to introduce our mayor, Arthur Vigent, who will say a few words.
Thank you, Bob, and thank all of you for coming out today in a commemoration of those who have given the ultimate sacrifice to allow us to do the things we do. I'd like to read a poem by Sergeant First Class Thomas E. Ward, U.S. Army Reserve. Thoughts of an Old Soldier. As my next heartbeat grows further from my first and closer to my last, I look back into the years, into those friends left in my past. Old soldiers whose years now pass, each day our faces wrinkle and our hands callous. Our hair turns a shade of gray. Our deepest friends grow old no more. Their hair will never gray. They age no more, not an hour nor a day. They feel no pain since the day they fell. Their brows will never crease with worry of some horrid pain. Our memories of them will never cease.
Very good.
And now I am pleased to introduce our guest speaker, City Councilor President Patricia Pope. Patricia, or Trish as we all know her, began her elective service to the city in 1998 as a ward councilor and was elected at large in 2006 and continues her service today, leading the city council as its president. I've had the privilege of working with her over the years, both as a ward councilor and a member of the Veterans Council. Trish has always been a great supporter of the men and women in the armed services. Trish?
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for today's ceremony. I'm both honored and humbled to have been asked to speak on such an important occasion. Today, we salute our servicemen and women and remember the sacrifices that they made in the name of duty, honor, and country. President Ronald Reagan once said, "We owe this freedom and the choice of action to those men and women in uniform who serve this nation and its interests in a time of need. In particular, we forever indebted to these who have given their lives that we might be free." Memorial Day is the time to recognize our heroes, to remember the achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and to say thank you for their sacrifices. Thinking of heroes who join us in this group today, and those who are here only in spirit, a person can't help but be awed by the enormity of this encounter. We stand in the midst of patriots and families and friends of those who have served nobly our great nation. The servicemen and women we honor today come from all walks of life, but they have shared several fundamental values. They possess courage, pride, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity, all of the qualities needed to serve a cause much larger than oneself. They did not ask to leave their homes to fight and serve in faraway places. Some did not volunteer, but many did. They did not go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in an extraordinary way in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a country which has given so much to all. Since the first shots at Lexington and Concord were fired and our Revolutionary War began, American men and women have been answering the call to duty. Millions of Americans have fought and died on battlefields here and abroad and defend our freedoms and way of life. Our troops still continue to make the ultimate sacrifice abroad, and every day more and more Americans step forward and say, "I am ready to serve." They follow in the footsteps of generations of great Americans. The idea of Memorial Day, originally called Declaration Day, came after the Civil War. During the Civil War, at least 620,000 Americans, both Union and Confederate, were killed and hundreds of thousands of more were maimed. Through the course of this war, Americans had blasted at each other with cannons, burned cities and towns on their own soils. Homes, schools, and churches from Bull Run to Vicksburg were riddled with bullet holes. This war's unprecedented carnage and destruction was on a scale that not even a few years before was even imaginable, and it changed America's view of war forever. For those dark times, it was the families who were honoring the dead that began to bring the light of reconciliation to all. Although there are different versions of how Memorial Day began, one story goes that grieving families, both in the North and the South, started decorating the graves of lost soldiers with flowers and wreaths. In one city in Mississippi, people decorated the graves of both Union and Confederate troops out of respect for families of the Union soldiers and with hope that someone in the North was doing the same for their loved ones. These informal honors led to the first formal Memorial Day, which was celebrated in Waterloo, New York on May 5, 1866. Congress officially recognized Memorial Day as a federal holiday in 1887. Since then, and with each passing year and subsequent conflict, we continue to honor our troops. We have awarded medals to many soldiers, added their names to monuments and names to buildings, and we honor them for their bravery. but nothing can ever replace the hole left behind by a fallen service member. And no number of medals and ribbons can comfort those that they have left behind. I want to take a moment to speak directly to our active servicemen and women and veterans who are here with us today. Thank you for answering the call to serve our country. Your service to our nation will never be forgotten. You have made our armed forces the most respectable in the world. Now, I'd like to speak to the families of the brave men and women who are serving or who have served. We know you have or lived through difficult times, and often you carried the heavy burden of keeping the home fires burning. Thank you for what you do and what you have done in service to our country. And finally, to the loved ones of service members who paid the ultimate sacrifice on the battlefields abroad, or those service members who returned home and are fighting the demons of war. Some of these brave men and women have lost that battle, but I want you to know that we thank you and we will never forget. Today, all across this great nation, people are gathering, as we are now, to remember and pay gratitude to those that have served and are serving our country. Our gathering is just one spark in a flame of pride that burns across our nation today and every day. This ceremony is only a small way we can pay tribute to those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we can live in freedom. Your presence here and that of people gathering all across America is a tribute to the brave men and women and their families. Being here is our way to say thank you, and we remember. From the soldiers who shivered and starved through the winter at Valley Forge, to the doughboys crouched in the muddy trenches of France, to the soldiers who patrolled the hazy jungles of Vietnam, and the men and women serving in Afghanistan today, we remember and we honor them all. Thank you for taking this time to attend this ceremony with us today. God bless you and your families. God bless our troops, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Very nicely done. Thank you. And now is our closing ceremony. The high school band will play the Star Spangled Banner.